Is there a way to test your gut health? Well, the good news is yes, and the bad news is you're not going to like what I have to share with you about the way you need to test it. But looking at your gut health is one of the most important things you can do. And in this video, I'll deconstruct some of the ways you can test your gut health and why it's worth the effort of collecting your stool. That's the downside. So I'm Regan Archibald. I've been obsessed with health for the last 30 years of my life. And my goal every day is to help you accomplish your health goals in the shortest amount of time possible without risking future health. And gut health is the foundation for everything. So what is a gut test? Well, there's several different labs, and yes, there's pathogenic markers that you can look at in gut tests. And if you've ever been to the hospital and you've had some kind of severe illness, they may ask for a stool sample. Usually what they're looking for is some kind of pathogenic bacteria, especially if you've had dysentery, loose stools, things like that. But they're also going to be short-sighted. It's not going to show the complete story. So if you think about your gut, if you get the right stool test, that's when we can start really isolating what phylum is out of balance, what bacterial species you do want or don't want. We'll see if fungus or candida is overgrown, and it can be one of the most enlightening tests that you'll ever do in your life. I get my gut tested at least every year, sometimes more, depending on where I've traveled to and how I'm feeling. It's given me a lot of insight. So, what is the best test and what's the way to do it? Well, there's tests that you can do from the blood that can show you if there's pathogens that do start in the gut and get into the blood. So, and that one's called biome burden. And in some cases where we have clients who are just like, there's no way I'm messing with my stool, Regan. Well, then we'll do biome burden because it also shows you how well your immune system is responding against those pathogens. So if we see there's candida, maybe Saccharomyces, something too high in the blood, then we see what your Th1, Th2, Th17, how your immune system is actually responding against that pathogen. So it gives us a good understanding of the intelligence of the immune response. But when you miss out on the benefits of doing a stool test, we're not going to see the whole picture. So what does a stool test look at? There's 5 things. Number 1 is maldigestion. And when you do a comprehensive GI effects test, we use a lab called Genova, and they seem to have very good testing. Doctor's Data is another one that we use. But you want to have these 5 categories. So maldigestion, inflammation, dysbiosis, metabolic imbalance or metabolite imbalance, and infections. And these 5 criteria make up the general process of the gut. So what is the gut biome and why is it important? Well, if you look at the human body, you have more DNA for bacteria than you do for human cells itself. So that means a lot of the genetic expressions, a lot of the health of your body is directly proportional to the health of your gut. Now, in maldigestion, what we're going to be looking at is the pancreatic enzymes. So these enzymes are what break down food so that you can get proteins, you can get fats, and you can have carbohydrate absorption. When you chew your food, the first thing that happens is there's an enzyme called amylase. And amylase breaks down the carbohydrates. Amylase, it allows for the rapid absorption of sugars. We want you to be using those sugars as an energy source as quickly as possible. By the time the food hits your stomach, the stomach is like the oven, and that's where the acidity in your stomach break down the proteins. And so one of the things that we found is as we age, our stomach acidity starts to decrease. And especially if you take any kind of acid blocker, maybe you take Tums, or you take a proton pump inhibitor like omeprazole, these things can disrupt what's called protein synthesis, and so you're not fully digesting the protein. And you're like, well, Regan, you want me to eat like 200 grams of protein? Well, yes, we want you to eat a lot of protein, but what's more important is your ability to break down the protein. So the maldigestion gives us a really good understanding as far as, are you breaking down carbohydrates, are you breaking down proteins, or not? And then the third macronutrient is fats. And so fats go through this process of emulsification, where these fat molecules are broken down into fatty acids. They're processed through the liver, and then you can make ketones, so your brain works really well. These proper omega balances are critical for metabolic function, but they're also critical for inflammation. So if you don't have enough fatty acids, your body's going to feel it. You're going to be more inflamed. Your brain's not going to be as sharp. And so it's the small intestine where you have this little excretion from your gallbladder of bile. And these bile salts are one of the agents that help break down the fats. And so by doing a gut test, you can see, okay, how's my fat absorption? And if you don't have a gallbladder, that's a problem because your liver produces the bile, and then the bile gets secreted into the gallbladder, and the gallbladder just holds the bile until you have fat. And then when you have fat that needs to be broken down, the gallbladder secretes bile into the small intestine, you emulsify the fatty acids, they get absorbed, and your body works really well. But if you don't have a gallbladder, you may want to consider supplementing with what are called bile salts. So bile salts, usually ox bile salts, bovine bile salts, these are really powerful agents to help you break down fats. But in your gut test, we'll let you know if that's something that you need. If you burp a lot, if you have nausea often after eating a meal with heavy fats, if you notice your stools are tan, that's a good indication that you're not breaking down fats. And that's where we'd say, okay, one of the things you want to do, protect your gut, use BPC 157, KPV. These are two great peptides to help protect the intestinal membranes. And if you're somebody who responds poorly to gluten, most of us, but if you do, there's a peptide called liraglutide that is protective against gluten exposure. And that does not mean like just go eat a bunch of gluten, you won't have any symptoms, but it can mitigate the symptoms. If you love sourdough bread, which I do, then you can have a little bit of liraglutide and that can help. So that's where we look at maldigestion. It's really important because nutrient sensing, as we age, our nutrient sensing gets dimmer. And by focusing on the gut, you can have a rapid transformation as far as how your body can get nutrients into the cells and into the tissue. The second one is inflammation. Inflammation is a systemic driver of all disease, certain types of inflammation. Now, you need inflammation to heal and recover, but if it's persistent, that's when you can start getting massive breakdowns in your blood vessels, your organs, your joints. Everything in your body goes the wrong direction with chronic inflammation. But in the gut specifically, we look at calprotectin, we look at eosinophil X, and we also look at your SIGA markers. And that can show us exactly what is, if there is triggering of inflammation, and then we can run a food sensitivity test to see what foods may be triggering it. But generally speaking, gluten, dairy, soy, nightshades like onions, tomatoes, these can all instigate more inflammation. And one of the worst things that causes long-term inflammation is when you take ibuprofen and acetaminophen. Some people pop them like candy. The third thing is dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is a fancy term that it means there's a disruption in the healthy gut flora, or the gut biome is the general word for all of the jungle of critters that you've got in your body. A healthy person in indigenous cultures, what researchers have found is they have about 1,500 different species and phylum of bacteria in their gut, like a massive diversity. You go to industrialized countries, roughly 900, we have far lower levels of variety in our gut because of the foods. We're eating the same foods every day, you're going to get some dysbiosis. And so what dysbiosis, what the stool test will show you is if you've got overgrowth of certain bacterial species, and that may be one of the reasons why you're not losing weight or not getting the body composition you want. But it can also show the immune function and if you've got metabolic issues. So your whole metabolic process, our body eats twice. Once for the calories you need, and then the bacteria. If you have certain species of bacteria, you'll actually hold on to more calories as storage for fuel later. And that's where this dysbiosis is important. Okay, let's go to the metabolite imbalance. So if you think about what foods your gut loves, the gut bacteria really loves what are called short-chain fatty acids. And this is your propionate and your butyrate balances. And so by having the right levels of short-chain fatty acids, then what you're going to see is the ability for your bacteria to eat. And the healthier the food is for the bacteria, just like you'll notice better energy levels, your hormones will be more balanced. There's a marker called beta-glucuronidase, and that's where your estrogen gets unconjugated and conjugated and gets flushed out of your body when you don't want recycled hormones. And so the gut is where a lot of this happens. And then the final one is infections. And so when we look at infections, people have hidden parasites. Probably 90% of you have parasites. We also find that these infections are bacteria related, like Klebsiella, Citrobacter, and really severe cases, C. difficile. These are pathogenic bacteria that are just robbing you of your energy. And so we want to get rid of those. So by doing a gut test, yes, you can do a gut test. Yes, it does require you to do a stool analysis, but some of the things that you'll notice is just better energy, less constipation, less bloating, better body composition, your brain will work better just by fixing your gut. And one of the novel treatments that we do, we use peptides with a microbiota transplant. Once we get all those infections out, we can clear it up and then re-inoculate. It's like reseeding your garden and fertilizing it with microbiota transplant. So if you're someone who's interested in getting your gut test and you want to do it with a team of experts trained in functional medicine, specifically on the gut, all you need to do is go to agelessfuture.com and click on the link that gives you an introductory call, and my team will get you well cared for. I'm Regan Archibald. Appreciate you being here on the channel. I'll see you on the next video.